Hello, and welcome to a special Film at Lincoln Center member event. My name is Alexandra Salati. I'm the membership manager with Film at Lincoln Center. Thank you for being with us for an exclusive Q&A and preview screening of Wander Darkly. Many thanks to our friends at Lionsgate for providing this wonderful insider access. Joining us for the Q&A, we're pleased to have writer-director Tara Miele and star Sienna Miller in a conversation moderated by Kevin Polowy, senior correspondent at Yahoo Entertainment. Before we get the conversation started, I'd like to shout out some exciting announcements from FLC. Art of the Real opened on November 13th and runs through the 26th. This essential showcase for nonfiction and hybrid filmmaking is available exclusively in the FLC Virtual Cinema. Also coming up in the FLC Virtual Cinema is the 2020 New Directors, New Films, presented in partnership with MoMA and rescheduled from its original dates in March. Tickets go on sale November 23rd. Members save 20% on every film in these festivals and all titles in the virtual cinema. Visit the member corner or email members@filmlinkwithac.org for more information. Thank you for supporting Film at Lincoln Center. Our work would not be possible without the dedication of our members. And now, without further ado, I'll turn this over to our moderator, Kevin, and our very special guests.
Hey everyone, my name is Kevin Polowy from Yahoo Entertainment, and if you are still crying right now, I guarantee you are not alone. I was right there with you very shortly ago. I'm very excited to be here and put on a collared shirt today for a virtual post-screening discussion on Wander Darkly, the powerful and riveting film you've just watched with a couple of its lovely and incredible creators. She is the writer-director of Wander Darkly. Her other credits include the films The Lake Effect, Gone Missing, and Starving in Suburbia. Tara Miele. Hey Tara, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. And she is the Golden Globe nominated star of such films as American Sniper, Layer Cake, and 21 Bridges, who plays the distraught yet resilient Adrian in Wander Darkly, Sienna Miller. Hi, Sienna.
Hi. Hi.
Tara and Sienna, congrats on this incredible film. I found it so engaging and affecting. It is beautifully shot. That third act twist just lands like a ton of bricks. I would be lying if I said it didn't make me swallow some tears before finally just liberating them all over my face. It is just one of those films that really transfixes you. It leaves you in a daze when all is said and done in the best kind of way. So congrats to you both. Tara, let's start with you. Wander Darkly is the brainchild you birthed. What can you tell us about the film's origins and what inspired you to tell this story?
Yeah, so my husband and I did survive a pretty bad car crash about 7 years ago. And at the time, we have two little girls. They at the time were 6 months and 4. And I think sort of that brush with death really, I don't know, your sense of your own mortality changes when you're a parent. And coming out of that experience, I found myself just feeling so grateful that we'd survived it. Just wanted to bottle up that feeling that sometimes only comes out of tragedy and only comes out of great pain, which was just this enormous sense of, just gratitude that we were still living these delicate, fragile little lives of ours. And so that was sort of the beginning of it. And I think I've also always been interested in doing a romance that felt more familiar to me, and that was more like what my relationship has been over the past 20 years, which is this constant negotiation and two different versions of the world and of the relationship you're in. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was sort of the beginnings of it.
Sienna, what was your first response to reading the script? I mean, I can't imagine, it's so original. I can't imagine you're reading many screenplays like this where reality is so ambiguous and your character is sort of drifting in and out of these memories and these spaces and these landscapes.
No, it was so compelling. It was it really got me on an emotional level that like nothing really has. And I read it, was completely intrigued, was blindsided, and then was sobbing like you, just a snotty mess. And I've never done this before. It's a very un-English way of behaving, but I phoned up Lynette Howell, who's the producer, and said I have to play this part, and then spoke to Tara and was very fortunate that I got to play it because yeah, it's one of those things. I've never read anything like it. And I think the idea of kind of analyzing a relationship from its inception, going back with you know, spending time in the past and looking at it and how it shapes our future. And I don't know, it was so moving. And I cried every time I read that script. So I knew I had to do it.
Yeah, I can see that. The film can be, you know, extremely disorienting by design, obviously, putting us in the mind of Adrienne after she's just experienced this traumatic event. You know, times it feels like one hell of a therapy session. It can also be very emotionally grueling to watch at points. How emotional was it on set? How emotionally grueling, you know, Tara, especially being such a personal story for you, and Sienna, you know, what your character went through and what you had to put yourself through as a performer.
Oh, it was impossible. It was really, you know, I mean, intense, I think, emotionally for Sienna to just beat by beat play out all the confusion and the disorientation and the huge swings. But then on top of that, this layer of where are we in the narrative? I'm talking about the past from the present. I'm projecting into the future. You know, this sort of the discombobulation of it all on top of the big, heavy emotional lifting, I think. And we just did it in 24 days or something insane. Wow. So it just was a real sprint. I just am so lucky I had Sienna and Diego in these two roles. I mean, honestly, just beyond lucky.
Yeah.
Sienna, how did you approach those scenes where Adrian believes she's dead? I mean, you're kind of reverse sixth sensing it there for a while.
Yeah, it was really, the whole thing was really surreal. And I think by osmosis, my whole memory of it is very, very confused. She's in a sort of delirium, and I don't really, I had Tara to lean on, which was great. I had this beautiful script, which the only thing I had to do was do that justice. That was all. But it was really probably the most emotionally challenging thing I've done, to sit in that space of such confusion and ultimate that grief, and I think it comes from some sort of empath disorder, but imagining what that feeling is, for what that would really be like, which I know is the job of an actor. But with this one, it was really particularly resonant and poignant and painful and hard. And I don't know that I've ever found anything so hard, but I had this amazing woman at the helm, and it was her story. And I had Diego, who's the most wonderful man. But no, I was in pieces. Tara will tell you, like, they'd say cut, and I'd be like, you know, it was a grueling film. It was hard, but worth it. I think the best ones are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Tara, what were the toughest moments for you to capture?
You know, it's funny because logistically, there were things that were just insane. You know, I always talk about, there's a scene where Sienna hops out of the car in the middle of traffic and remembers the accident, runs across the street. Logistically, you know, we had 90 seconds per take because we're a tiny little movie and we just didn't have the budget to like lock down huge city blocks. And so Sienna's in a deep emotional state. We've got a driver, we've got all of this nonsense and a stunt and, you know, the whole thing. And we've got 90 seconds from, okay, here we go, we're rolling until we get to clear out. And so some of that stuff was quite intense, but, you know, the emotional stuff, I would say the days that we spent sort of in the bedroom, like, you know, where Sienna's getting dressed for her, or Adrian's getting dressed for her own funeral, or, you know, going through Matteo's clothes. Some of that work was just so, you know, it's not easy to do. Or, you know, there was the day that she sees the baby and believes the baby is dead. That was the worst. That was probably the real worst. I've blocked that completely.
I've blocked that. Don't talk about it. Don't.
Let's move on.
No, I'm with you. I have two girls myself, so it's tough. It's tough to watch. I understand you guys had a predominantly or heavily female crew. Can you talk about that and sort of how it changes the dynamic of the film set?
Yeah, you know, I didn't endeavor to specifically hire women, but I certainly understand that women are often hired on what they've done, and men are often hired on their potential. And so I really tried to look at women to hire for their potential. I mean, it was one of the most hardworking, talented crews I've been lucky enough to work with. I thought the energy on set was very collaborative and just tireless. I just couldn't believe the amount of commitment that the entire crew gave to the movie. So it's delightful to work with women. You know, it's a lovely thing. And I felt like it worked in support of a story about a woman going through like her most challenging time in her life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, do you feel like that, had a positive impact on storytelling, just in terms of like, this is told from a female perspective, and I don't. These are stories I feel like so often we've seen, like films like Eternal Sunshine, breakup stories or romantic dramas are told from a man's perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I think often the women in those stories are, and which I love, Eternal Sunshine, Beyond, but are often sort of like the manic pixie dream girl who's helping the guy along his journey, and I think often it's hard for men to approach a female character without sort of making her unrelatable, like making it all about the beauty, and let's shoot the beautiful image and let's dress her beautifully and make her very feminine. And I think, for this story, we were really grounding into a real human experience and didn't want it to feel glamorized. And I don't know, I think Carolina, was able to shoot like something in Sienna that was like at her core in this really deep character place. And I always say Sienna's like an ingenue with a character soul, and she just like dives into roles. I think people often don't even know they're watching her because she transforms so much. But I think in this one in particular, it just couldn't be about beauty and femininity and sort of that thing moving forward. And I think sometimes men have a hard time creating around a woman's character without those elements. I think that so much of their perspective on women is femininity and beauty. And so those were two things that weren't at the front of what we were trying to do.
I do wish the one and only Diego Luna could join us today. I know he wanted to be here, but he's in production on some little TV show called like Star Wars or something. One, I wish he could be here because I think we'd all feel better, like as audience members, like seeing he's okay right now after that viewing trauma. But also, he is one of like the nicest guys in the business. So for the both of you, tell us about working with Diego.
He's astounding. He's a director as well as an actor. He's sublime in everything, but he has a really enormous heart, which you would know if he was here talking to you. And the material was so sensitive. It was so deep and so challenging. And he was just all heart and support, and sort of has this ability to be completely natural and kind to everyone. He's just the dream. He's basically the dream. No ego. And this enormous talent and intellect. He was just wonderful, right?
Oh, I mean, we can't say enough things. We'll just gush about Diego forever. No, I mean, he's just fiercely intelligent. He's laser focused. He prepares like an incredible amount, has the most poignant questions. And really for a director, it's like a dream. He just challenges you to like step up your game. And I found that, whereas Sienna's role sort of did take her into this concussed state, and there was a little bit of like that let go that had to happen for you, he became like this rock, for you in the most beautiful way. It was really a lovely experience working with the two of them. Yeah.
Sienna, what did the two of you guys do to sort of establish that? And I don't know in what sort of order you filmed the scenes, but like, what did you guys do to establish that highly tense, highly fraught dynamic that sort of we find this couple in at the start of the film?
Well, we were very lucky because we actually had a rehearsal process on this, which is a rarity these days. Tara and Diego and I spent about, I think, a week in a room breaking down the script. It was really complex because of the U-turns and pivots that you have to make within a scene, from present to past to it, sort of breaking whatever some ostensible fourth wall, and commenting on yourself. And it was really complex technically. And having that time, I think, together really, really helped us, A, trust each other. We'd known each other for a while anyway. But B, really block those beats so that it felt seamless, which was not an easy thing to do. And then it's a case of just trust. Like I look in that person's eyes, he's listening, he's telling the truth, and hopefully vice versa. And then the rest is, in the hands of the gods, I guess.
You said you guys knew each other before. I don't believe. Have you worked together just for circles?
No. We share an agent, and so we'd sort of seen each other around a lot. And when one of my first films, Factory Girl, was coming out, was when Y Tu Mamá También was coming out. So we were sort of at things and young, and it was great and fun. And raucous and recalcitrant and all of those R words. And so we'd sort of been friends, and then his agent, he'd been offered this script and she snuck me the script. So this was cool for us to finally make a movie together.
Awesome. Yeah, it's such an amazing pairing. You guys are both so incredible in this film. Well, I know you worked closely with Diego. I do need to know if you also worked with those dolphins. Was that practical? Were you there?
We were there. Those are real live dolphins that Tara just like waved her wand, and like 50 dolphins. It was astounding. It was so funny. I had a 2:52 a.m. pickup that day, which was like, it's not the military guys, but I'll do it. And we all got on a boat. Where were we? Because I can never remember.
We left out of Palos Verdes, and then or Long Beach, and then we boated up to Palos Verdes. And then Captain Dave just told us where the dolphins were, and we'd chase our way over to Captain. We have like our producer, Monica, was on a boat with this guy, Captain Dave, who does dolphin tours, and said he could find us dolphins, and he would like give us his like longitude and latitude, and we would stop whatever we were doing and like race to Captain Dave to film that bit of the scene. It was really, it's the best of filmmaking. I feel like those moments when you have to have so much faith and so much hope in the belief that this insane stuff is possible, and put 200 people in a boat and go out and go, don't worry, it's going to work. We're going to see dolphins. And then you do. Yeah, it's good.
They're such gorgeous shots, and so perfectly close the story down. One of the cool things about doing a post-screening Q&A versus a regular interview is that, we can get nice and spoilery because everyone tuning in here has seen the movie already. So let's talk about that ending for a little bit. Anytime there's a big twist like this, viewers want to go back and sort of look for clues. So Tara, if we were to sort of revisit this movie, would you say there are there little clues placed throughout it that it is Matteo who's dead? Can you sort of tease anything?
Yeah, I mean, there are certainly clues that he's not actually there, even though she thinks he's there. After Adrian's come home from the hospital, the baby sort of starts to cry. She's sitting on the couch next to her mom, and he gets up to go. But, we made a big deal about the fact that they play this game where they don't talk to each other, so that it didn't feel as if them not talking to each other was like a big thing. But really everything that Adrian experiences in terms of feeling like death is coming for her is all answered in the end, right? So like her idea of the shadowy figure is, of course, the homeless guy who actually helped her looming over that window. And the nails down her belly is really the glass as she was pulled out. And so everything, there is definitely a lot to go back and breadcrumb trail through.
Yeah, definitely. It feels like a film that's going to reward repeat viewings. And those are, in my opinion, the best kinds of films. Well, at the risk of, sounding like I'm asking you guys to explain your movie, hopefully not. But I mean, what would you say sort of in broader strokes, what you think the story says about love, about relationships, about memories, and above all, about trauma and what effect it can have?
I think the mind is an amazing thing. I think that's the sort of message of this. It's like our perspective on our past is really how we're going to live out our future. We write our own narratives. It's worth seeing someone else's point of view. And really like, it's like love the one you're with, like taking stock and appreciating what's good, even in the face of trauma and tragedy, and saying thank you in those darkest moments, right? Like, thank you for the time we had, and thank you for what we have left, and thank you for us still being here and all that.
Mm-hmm. And Sienna, what are the themes that you'd say you most closely connected with?
I'm a real romantic, and it actually felt like the most romantic movie I've ever made, and not obviously in a traditional sense, but the idea of two people that have somewhat lost each other but have had this huge connection, to be able to go back and see those little moments where you just go wrong, and it's communication, but the idea of spending time with someone going back was what really got me about this, because I think it is the little things that add up to resentments. And I do think you finish watching this movie and it's life affirming. And the response that Tara and I witnessed in Sundance when it premiered was people feeling the need to connect to the people they loved. And that's sort of art to me. So yeah, I think love is really the most important thing, the only thing, in spite of everything. Like, stick together, love each other, be kind. So I think this movie kind of says that.
Can you tell us about the first time you saw the finished product? Was that at Sundance? Could you watch this movie with a live audience, and did you break down like the rest of us?
I did. I hadn't seen it, and I watched it at Sundance, which was like a hugely special, slightly anxiety-inducing experience. It's a lot of me, extremely, there. And there are movies I've made that I've never even seen. But I think when you get to Sundance and it's been a labor of love and we've gone through it in the trenches, it's kind of a wonderful thing to sit with an audience, and they love movies there. It was a snot fest. The whole thing was just, and it was really embarrassing because I was sobbing. I also, the song that was a cover of the Haim song, Don't Save Me, was my song, the Haim version, with my little girl when she was a baby. And we used to like bounce around the kitchen to that song. So
I did not know that.
Did I not tell you that? Yes.
No.
Yes. That was Mine and Marlowe's song from like when she was a baby. So suddenly that song comes on and it's this beautiful Winona Oak cover. And I was done. And then I was like, God, I can't be seen sobbing at my own film. But it was that beautiful song. And it was, it's moving. You did such a good job, T.
Yeah. And then finally, what's next for the both of you guys? Are you working throughout the pandemic?
I am bleary-eyed because I'm shooting in London. I'm so grateful to be on a set, but I'm doing a 6-part David E. Kelly Netflix drama. And I'm English for once in it, which never happens. As a result, I'm so self-conscious. I realize, like, if you give me a hunchback and stick me in the Midwest, I'm like, I've got this. But like someone somewhat close to me is just terrifying. So I don't know how to act anymore. I was going to put on a shirt. I'm like, I can't. If I had my way, I'd be doing it. I'm in a total actor. This is actor hell. And I just, yeah.
Do you worry that, spending so much time in the States, like, do you worry that like there's like, too much American sort of slipping into your native accent?
No, no. I've lived there for 4 years in New York. I'm in London for the year, but I think I've stayed English. Maybe the intonation is slightly different. This is my first accent. But therefore I feel like I literally walked into a room and have no clothes on, and what do I do?
I do think people forget you have a British accent because you've done American so well for so long, right?
I like the layers, so it feels very exposing. Yeah.
And the language, that like rhythm of new language.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not the time for the therapy session, which I will call you for, Tara.
Let's get into it. Let's talk about it.
I have worries about it. It galvanizes me, I think, probably.
And Tara, how about you? I know you've been doing some TV. You've been working on Batman.
Yeah. TV, and I'll probably do a little bit next year. We'll see. But I do have very fun, exciting, big things that I just can't talk about. So just fun, wonderful things in the works, guys. That's all I can say.
Awesome. Well, this was such a delight to speak to the both of you today, and congrats again on just an incredible, affecting film. I really loved it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah. Thank you so much.